Hello, everyone, and welcome to Project Jupyter's weekly developers call. This is Tuesday, May 23rd. We canceled last week since a big part of the group is out at PyCon, and I will go ahead and get started. We have action items from last week, and I think we can start to check some of those off and maybe delete some of them. There is still a blanket reminder to register for JupyterCon at jupytercon.com. We have the discount deadline for that event coming up in 2 days, which is this Thursday, they'll be in the next price jump. So yeah, don't forget to register for that. I think the PyData Paris happened already, right? I think did Sylvan go to that? Was that Sylvan's event? Do you speak? Is he on the call? Maybe he wants to talk about it. I don't know. Not on the call. Okay, maybe he can tell us about that next time. So other action items from previous months. Is Min on the call? Does he still want people? Let's see, Min. Min is on the call. Min, do you still want people interested? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we're going to do that. That was added to the meeting agenda for next week. So we're going to go through stuff in person.
Okay. So should I take that off of here?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Mike. Is Mike on the call?
Mike's not here today.
Mike is not here today. So if you have thoughts on user stories for configurable exports, looks like you should reach out to Mike. IPyWidgets, who talks about that? Anybody?
Sylvan and Jason. That's a reminder for deployment 7.0 release.
Okay. Does that still need to be on here?
That's a feather in the hat reminder when we come back to 7. Yeah. 7's supposed to be released. Jason, hopefully you can provide an update on that when we get to that section.
Okay. So I'll go ahead. Leave it. Okay.
Just leave it.
Yeah. Got it. Grant, do you want to talk about closing out Jupyter and notebook issues?
Sure. Yeah, I've been busy the past 2 weeks with another project, so I really haven't made a lot of progress, but that is still, after I wrap up a couple things, that is what I will be focusing on. And if anybody would like to help me, that'd be great, but I'm not really expecting it.
It is so fun. You should totally help out.
I can hear it in Grant's voice.
Awesome.
He's super excited about it. Okay, so on to the next one. Jupyter Lab, who wants to talk about that?
Yes, the extension mechanism should be fairly settled down, and documentation is out there. We're still looking for more folks to write extensions and give us feedback. There's a Jupyter Hub extension that's been recently updated, and Jason has also recently updated the IPyWidgets one, so there has been some feedback on it.
Okay, awesome. So the last one on there looks like Matthias is looking for feedback for his REPL implementation. And there's a link there for anyone who's interested in doing that. So now we can move on to do the leaders of, help me out here, guys, the leaders of these sections of the weekly news by organization, is that kind of just anyone who's on the call, or is that the same people every week? How does that work?
I update the documents each week, but we don't typically talk about it. It's there for review for people who are listening at home or following along.
Okay. So those links lead to kind of individual places where people can look for news on those topics?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, Perfect. So so moving on to project management then, Jamie, do you have any updates? I know you sent out those the diagrams for the different teams. Anything else on that or anything else you want to talk about?
Damian gave me a thumbs up on that, so thanks so much for the feedback, Damian. It's nice to get any kind of feedback on stuff. So he just gave me a thumbs up. So that was great. So I'm just wrapping things up on my end. As most of you know, my last day is Friday, and I'll be starting some data science stuff this summer. But I can give a little update on things that have come up here at where are we? PyCon. And sorry, I have like JupyterCon stuck in my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, PyCon, folks are starting to ask about moving to Jupyter Lab and expectations for like the rate of the expected transition rate from the classic notebook to Jupyter Lab. And one thing that I've just been responding with is, we're probably looking at like a year and a half horizon on the transition. And Brian just joined, so he can chime in if there's additional information that you want to add there, Brian. So folks are asking about the conversion from the classic notebook to Jupyter Lab and asking when Jupyter Lab will be coming out. So I have told them that we're aiming for sometime this summer. Is that right, Jason and Steve? I'm getting a nod from Jason. Steve, okay, good. Great.
I'm eternally optimistic though, so I don't know if I would count that nod. I mean, yeah. I think if we I really hope that we have it for JupyterCon. I think it'll be a bit, yeah.
Okay.
But that would be this summerish, end of August, right? Yeah. Indian summer. That count?
Yeah. End of October. Okay. Yeah. It's always summer. Great. And let's see. I spoke with the NumFocus folks. They have a PyData Seattle coming up July 5th through 7th, right before SciPy, and they would love a talk from the Jupyter team. I thought real-time collaboration might be a good thing to share with the PyData community, but I would of course want confirmation from Mr. Ian. So if that's something that you're interested in speaking about, might be a good test run for SciPy or JupyterCon.
JD, I don't know what the status is, but I had also offered to them to give a talk on Jupyter Lab.
Okay.
But I don't know. I've not heard back from them if they wanted or what that is. But
okay, I'll circle back with Leah. So it sounds like we have two options. She said she has a spot for us, so we can circle back. And I think that's about it. I'm really trying to wrap up some things. Like I said, like moving over our HackPad notes into Dropbox paper. So I'm hoping to finish that by the end of the week. And then, here and there, I might help Grant out with closing and following up on older issues.
Okay, great. Can you still hear me? Okay, I'm having some issues with my blue jeans.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. You're all frozen, but I'll just keep moving on because it sounds like the audio is working. So we're going to skip. Okay, great. So we'll skip over NB Convert since Mike's not here today. And I don't know if there's any updates on the next couple of sections. They don't have notes in them. Does anyone want to talk about services or the dashboard? If not, we'll move into Jupyter Lab, but just wanted to address those before moving on. Sounds like no.
I know we were looking for a backup for keeping track of MB Viewer. Is that crossed off in the action items? from last time. Min, you were looking for a backup deploying a new viewer.
We are going to do that next week in person.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so let's move on to Jupyter Lab then. Any updates or things that you guys want to share on that?
Sure. We released version 22 last week. That included several enhancements from new contributors. I think Brian's working on a blog post about that. It was a hackathon a couple weeks ago. Also working on cleaning up the API stability and some last remaining beta issues, so we can calm this down and have a stable API for beta as much as possible. Darian is continuing to work on the setting system. We've got most of the client-side work done right now using local storage as a proof of concept, and we would plan to move that back to using the server-side storage for settings as a follow-on PR. And then Ian opened a PR enhancing our contents manager to add the ability to map different drives, which he plans to use for the real-time collaboration. So that should be the last major change to enable real-time collaboration, we hope. And again, that's part of the things we're trying to do is get these major API changes done before we switch to beta and people start building extensions in earnest. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. So anything on IPyWidgets?
Tons of new PRs. We released a new alpha. We're making good progress towards a beta. I think we have 11 issues, and that keeps going up and down just slightly as we open an issue and knock down 2 and open another one. We have a bunch of new contributors, several new contributors, including from the hackathon that was just mentioned. And yeah, we've couple between 20 and 30 PRs merged. So making good progress, and hope to get to a beta soon. We're racing Jupyter
Awesome.
Lab now. Just kidding.
Nice. Okay, so Jupyter Hub. Min,
Yeah,
Carol?
we're sprinting at PyCon on various Jupyter Hub deployment things that are getting stuff going on Kubernetes and getting Binder, which has been in a bit of trouble, rebuilt on top of Jupyter Hub. And it's going really well. Yeah, that's fine.
And then just a little feedback from PyCon. There was lots of science and data science stuff going on here. So it was great to have Jupyter folks out in force, and many attendees wanted to pass along their thanks to the entire team for all the work that everybody does to make Jupyter just awesome. So really successful 2 weeks. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody and catching up in person.
Nice. It's good to get that feedback in person and connect with the community. That's awesome.
What sprint work is being done? Is there sprint work on, obviously on Jupyter Hub? Is there other sprint work that's Jupyter related?
Not any official sprints. It's pretty much Min and Yuvi and I are here. We're kind of very centrally visible within the convention center and outside all the sprint rooms. And people have been coming up to us all week and asking us informal things. So I will be here through Tuesday early afternoon, and probably integrating more with the Pandas folks as the week goes on.
Awesome, thanks.
Nice. So anything on IPython? Doesn't look like there's any notes, but just want to call.
Matthias.
Okay.
Unless anyone else on the call has stuff they want to add on IPython.
Yeah, this is Brian, and one of our designers this summer at Cal Poly started to mock up some redesign work for the IPython website. And I think that the main question we'll want to answer is what content do we want to continue to host at the IPython website? And that would love input from the folks who are spending most of their time on the IPython kernel and yeah, basically figure out sort of what do we want that separate website to look like at this point from the content perspective, and then working with the designer on the visual redesign. So that's something that's just getting spun up, but I at least wanted folks to know that there was a student working on that.
When are you meeting on that? Is that like in the next week or so, or?
There's no planned meeting yet. The student basically of their own initiative start to just work on redesign stuff. So I've seen some early mock-ups. I'm going to try to meet with the student this week, but there's no particular time yet.
Great. If everything goes well, we should have a new technical writer on board in a couple weeks. So we're in the very, very last stages. So for those who gave up hope, we actually did it.
Nobody gave up hope.
Even
There's always hope.
So it would be great. It would be great to have the new writer folded into those conversations, so
yes.
So they can get integrated into the conversations early on. So when it comes to work on the content, it's the foundation set to do the writing and the content development.
Yeah, that would be really helpful to have them help out.
Cool.
Yes, and definitely looking forward to a redesign of that website. So yeah, sounds like a good project. So anything else on? Let's see. Our next point is. I'm not sure who would talk about that. Yes, the other.
Thomas?
Yes, so I'm proposing some changes to the way that finding and choosing kernel specs work, or kernels works. So the two key things are a more easily extensible system for finding kernels, so we can have our kernel spec based kernel finding machinery, and if, for example, Continuum wants to add a thing that finds kernels based on Conda environments that have IPyKernel installed, then they can add that without it sort of replacing our machinery. So you have a list of different kernel finder objects, and it queries all of them to see what kernels are available. And then there's a namespacing system for the kernels that it can find. So that's the bit that's sort of at least partially implemented and in a PR. The other bit that I want to kind of build on that with is a system for picking the kernel to start when you open a notebook that doesn't hinge on putting the kernel name in the notebook metadata, because often if that name is tied to an environment and that environment only exists on your own computer, then that name is not really something that belongs in the document that you're sharing with other people. So yeah, I've linked to a discussion issue and the PR for the first part, the kernel discovery part, in the meeting notes if people want to have a look at those.
Okay. Awesome. Before I move on, I want to flag for you, Jamie and Brian, that my BlueJeans is frozen. The UI is frozen. So you may want to log in with your moderator code in case I need you guys to end the recording when we get to that point.
I'm in as Project Jupyter. So we should be all right. But you're seamless. So
okay. Awesome. We'll just continue then. I can't interact with the UI though, so I'm not seeing the chat or anything else that's going on. So if you can help me out with that, that'd be awesome.
Okay, let me just make a note then. In the chat, I dropped a promo code for JupyterCon that devs can share with their colleagues. And then also the link to the PyCon videos. Jake Vanderplas's talk was great. On the first day, Katie Huff's talk was great as well. Lots of mention of the notebooks and Jupyter in general, so they're worth a watch.
Awesome. And the promo code gets people what is that?
It's so the promo code is JupCore20, JUPCORE 20, and it gives people 20% off of Jupyter.
Okay, awesome. And then, do you have any updates on governance that you want to talk about?
That's usually Brian. Brian, any updates on the governance side?
Not today.
Okay. So it looks like for conferences and outreach, there's a link to the project calendar, the team-wide project calendar within that section. So just a reminder to continue adding your conferences to that calendar as you confirm your participation, especially if you're speaking or just to kind of draw people in the community to the events that that you're participating in. Please continue to add your events there. I already talked about JupyterCon and the team meeting. No new updates there other than a reminder to everyone in the community that the discount deadline is this Thursday for the first tier of pricing. Of course, people can continue registering after that if they haven't decided yet, but that initial discount deadline is coming up pretty quick. Jamie, there's that section that says new, but I don't know, did I take that out of there?
No, those are new events that are coming up.
Oh, new events, got it.
Yep.
I'm just forget. And the list of already announced events, I'm not going to go through that. That's listed out within the agenda. And do you guys normally talk through the action items for the week, or are people supposed to just add those in there?
I usually
just
go through them really
read them if
quickly.
they were there.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So actually, you're kind of both were talking at the same time. So if there's nothing listed there, you don't talk through them, you just kind of move on?
Yeah.
Yep.
So one question, I missed the first part of the meeting. We have a Google document for everyone to record agenda topics for the upcoming team meeting, in-person team meeting. Did we talk about that Google document?
Yes. Yeah, I reminded folks about that and let them know that you and Fernando had started taking a look at that. So yeah.
And I think the only thing I would add is obviously there's a lot of topics that we end up discussing in person. They're sort of ad hoc. I think that the things that are most important to record there would be things that we all want to talk about together, namely because we only have so much time to discuss those big sort of project spanning topics, and we want to make sure to prioritize ones that folks are actually interested and feel like are urgent. So if you have ideas on project spanning topics, please let us know in some capacity, either on that document, or you can just email Fernando and I, or Jamie, or Anna, any of us. Look forward to seeing everyone too.
Okay, awesome. So the last section looks like releases for last week, for this week to be released soon. It's kind of quiet in there, so I don't know if that's because the notes haven't been updated or if there isn't much happening with that this week. So any updates from anyone on that?
Jason, is there an IPyWidgets release you want to put there?
We released Alpha 2, and I'm not going to promise beta this week, but I sure hope that we can get very close to it before the dev meeting.
I put under soon IPyWidgets 7.
Oh, yeah, soon. Well, beta. There.
Okay, got it. Okay, and
Which Jupyter Lab releases beta?
So the way that we're thinking about this is where we've started to make a grid of all of the packages inside Jupyter Lab, and to basically identify 3 different dimensions. One is API stability, the other is usability, and the other is feature parity. And we are basically beginning to develop that grid, and we want to use that to communicate to the community sort of where things are at. Our beta and our 1.0 line, or sort of releases, are not going to be sort of a particular set of things on that grid. So, for example, we're not going to have 100% feature parity or even 100% API stability. But the main thing we're trying to shift towards is communicating clearly where we are at today.
Gotcha.
I think the main thing that we're aiming for with the beta is that most of those boxes in that grid under the usability column are green, so to speak. And so we're working right now on building that grid out and adding all the information to it. I don't know. I mean, we're doing fairly often releases right now, and so I don't know if that's going to be a point, 29 to point 32. It's hard to say from that perspective. We're trying to release regularly and then shift our attention to communicating where we're at through this grid. So that's sort of where we're at.
And our target for beta is essentially people can use it day to day with little friction.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so anything else on releases or anything else for that matter? Kind of last chance catch all. Looks like we're at the end of the agenda. Thanks to all of you for helping me through it. Anything else before we go ahead and close out? No.
Nice
okay,
working
awesome.
off.
Jamie, we hope to see you soon.
All right, thanks everyone.